When you're staring at a blank screen and wondering if the next laptop you click, add to cart, on is really going to make a difference in your day-to-day grind, you start asking the tough questions. Who will actually benefit from this monster of a machine? Who should simply keep scrolling? And, with a price tag that feels more like a small car down payment than a piece of tech, is it worth it for the average professional? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Those doubts are what I'm here to unpack, because I've scoured forums, read the handful of reviews that exist, and talked to a few people who've already put the ThinkPad P1 Gen 8 through its paces. First off, the ThinkPad P1 Gen 8 is not a one-size-fits-all laptop. It's a mobile workstation that packs a Core Ultra 9285H, 64 GB of RAM, and a dazzling 16-inch OLED touch panel at 3.2K resolution. That combination is a clear signal. This machine is built for people who need raw compute power and an extremely high-fidelity display in a portable form factor. If you're a video editor who spends hours grading color on a 4K timeline, a data scientist juggling large models, or an architect rendering complex CAD assemblies on the go, the P1's AI-accelerated cores and massive memory pool will feel like a daily lifesaver. The OLED panel, with its deep blacks and vibrant colors, makes the difference between a flat-looking prototype and a presentation that truly pops when you pull it up in a client meeting. On the other side of the equation, if your work revolves around email, spreadsheets, and occasional web browsing, the P1 is overkill. The same power that lets a graphic designer render a 3-minute animation in seconds will just sit idle for someone drafting a quarterly report. In those cases, you're essentially paying a premium for horsepower you'll never use, and the trade-off becomes the extra weight and higher price tag. People who are used to ultralight ultrabooks, or those who travel with a carry-on, might find the P1's roughly 4-pound chassis a bit more cumbersome than they'd like. Now let's dig into the real-world strengths that actually matter after the box is opened. The first thing most owners notice is how quickly the system boots and switches between heavy workloads. The Core Ultra 9's AI engine offloads tasks like video encoding and image analysis, so when you fire up Premiere Pro, or run a Python script that leverages TensorFlow, you see a tangible speed bump compared to older Intel-based laptops. The 64 GB of RAM isn't just a number either. It means you can keep dozens of browser tabs, several design software instances, and large datasets in memory without swapping to the SSD. Speaking of storage, the SSD is a PCIe 4.0 drive that feels instantaneous for file transfers, so dragging a 5 GB 4K raw footage file from the drive to your external RAID takes less time than a coffee break. The OLED screen is another place where the value really shines. In my own testing, watching a color-graded short film on this screen felt like stepping out of a regular monitor and onto a professional reference monitor. The 3200-2000 resolution gives you enough screen real estate to have multiple windows open side by side while still maintaining crisp text. The touch capability is surprisingly responsive, making stylus-based sketching feel natural for a quick concept or annotation. Designers who need to see subtle gradients will appreciate the deep blacks and true-to-life color gamut, especially when compared to the typical LCD panels on most business laptops. But the P1 isn't without its hidden trade-offs. The greatest strength, its extensive port selection, also introduces a subtle complexity. You get Thunderbolt 4, HDMI 2.1, a full-size SD card slot, and a suite of USB-A ports. While that sounds like a dream on paper, the reality is you'll likely need a dedicated docking station to take full advantage of everything, which adds extra cost and another piece of hardware to carry. The battery life, while advertised at around 8 hours, shrinks dramatically when you push the OLED screen to its limits or run AI-intensive workloads. In real-world use, I found myself needing to plug in after roughly 45 hours of mixed work, video editing, 3D modeling, a dash of code compilation. If you're counting on a full workday away from an outlet, that's a factor to weigh heavily. Another practical weakness is the heat profile. The P1's powerful CPU and GPU generate noticeable warmth under sustained load. The cooling system does a competent job of keeping temperatures in check, but the fans become audible after half an hour of rendering or training a model. That isn't a deal breaker for most, but if you're working in a quiet office or a shared co-working space, it could become a distraction. The chassis, while built to the ThinkPad's usual durability standards, is still a metal slab that can feel a bit stiff when you try to angle the screen for the perfect viewing angle. Some users have reported that the hinge, although sturdy, doesn't allow for a full 360-degree rotation, limiting the tablet mode experience that the touch screen advertises. So, who should walk away?